feels pretend. Every smile's a scripted line. I mouth the words, but they're not mine. Traffic hums a perfect loop. Office lights, synthetic soup. Clock hands twitch like glitching files. I'm sentenced here to digital miles. And I asked the mirror once, is this me or just a skin? It blinked, then froze, and let the silence in. This world is too smooth to be real. Pain rehearsed, joy surreal. Every thought's precompiled. Even God feels pre-styled. Coworker jokes, they laugh on cue. I see the lag when they walk through. Someone rewinds every fight, so no one ever wins the night. My dreams are rendered, not designed. Recycled sky, borrowed mind. I scream but hear the buffering. A looped response, a hollow ping. And I asked the sky last night, is this prison or a test? The stars just blinked like a loading request. This world is too clean to be true. Every flaw's just code in view. Every hope's a pixel lie. Every death the system tries. If this is a game, who pressed start? Why do I feel like I'm falling apart? If choice is fake, then why this ache? Why does my chest still break, still break? So I sit and drink the glitchy brew. Fake sun on skin like morning's new. And I wait for the day I find the door, the back room exit to something more.
The sky so far away tonight, but I can't lose this one. Get a pride of a falling night. Thought that I was fit to fight for us to be. You gave me life for loving me. Tell me, where did we go so wrong?
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Chris Gio here, coming to you from Beyond the Veil. Kind of a weird show tonight, and some synchronicities going on in the chat room as well. I've got two topics that I've been kind of kicking around before I started. The reincarnation trap was the original topic, but then insight into AI also is something that I was thinking about. But a friend of mine called me earlier, and he was a friend from high school, and it turns out he's like a huge player in the cannabis industry. Like, he's like one of the top dogs in the cannabis industry. And so I was talking to him a little bit, and he said, man, yeah, I'm in Las Vegas, and, you know, one of my mentors died, and he said, you know, my aunt just died, my father died, all that. And I've been researching over the past couple of weeks about reincarnation, the reincarnation trap, and kind of feeling like something is on the horizon that we need to prepare for. And then as I was about to flip the topic and go, let's talk about AI, Magic in the chat said, my father died this morning. So our condolences to you, Magic, for sure. And to all the BT tribe out there that has lost somebody, either now or in the last few years or whatever. I mean, I know what it's like when you lose a parent. I've been spending a lot of time with my father because he feels like he's at the end of his wheelhouse here. And I started reflecting on my own mortality. And I think a lot of people are kind of in that space right now where they're reflecting. Somebody else in the chat, I don't remember who it was. It was Winston. He said, I've been researching this wheel of reincarnation trap, over and over and over. And that seems to be like something big that people are talking about right now. And it's great to see that people out there are like in sync with these certain frequencies. So I want to revisit this topic again and kind of revisit it from a new perspective. And let's start with the big question here. Why do we come back? What happens after we cross over, and how do we prepare ourselves? At the risk of sounding redundant, I got into dimethyltryptamine a long time ago with one simple question, or one simple intent, I should say, and that's to navigate the wheel of reincarnation, to be in such a disconnected state that I was still able to maintain some of my consciousness, maintain my identity, and be able to navigate through those experiences. It took me deep. It took me really deep. I won't go into how deep it's taking me, but those of you that have been listening for a while, you know what I'm talking about. But anyways, I started to realize that there is a way and there's a method that you could retain a part of your identity. And that identity is, at first it was Christio, who I am now. And then I got in touch with who I was before all these reincarnation cycles, I guess. Everything is a cycle, all these reincarnation cycles. And then I started holding on to that identity, and that took me deeper and deeper and deeper. And that last show, we went really deep, which is over on Patreon, patreon.com/BTV tribe. So in this show, I want to keep it a little bit lighter, a little bit more grounded. But I want to get into like the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. I want to postulate and philosophize on the idea of reincarnation and the idea of this life in and of itself, and what is this life for. The first note that I've got here is it a prison or is it a school? And that's something that many people have kicked around over and over and over again. We've kicked around the idea here so many times on the show before. And there's two ways to look at it. Either we're trapped in this cycle, or we've come here to learn. And the idea of karma, the idea of reincarnation, all of that, it's because we haven't really figured out what we're supposed to figure out before we move on to the next plane of existence or find the exit door out. And it's those attachments that keep us trapped in this wheel of reincarnation over and over again. Different faces, different names, but it's the same pains, it's the same struggles, it's the same confusion. And we're told that Earth is a classroom. The mainstream spiritual beliefs, especially like the Eastern and the whole reincarnation, Buddhist, Hindu, things like that, they see it's a form of soul evolution, or a form of cleansing. You come to Earth, you suffer a little bit, you learn your lessons, you rack up some karma experience and points and things like that, and eventually you get it right, and then you can transcend it all. And there's even some philosophies out there that say first we start as like a bug, and then you start, going up and up and up the food chain until you get to be a human, and then reincarnate as something else. And it's weird because I have this past life memory of being like this little lemur type creature. But I don't know if that's just an implanted memory or if that's something that I'm actually remembering. But that's the only non-human memory that I have. So I don't know if you guys and gals also have those kind of memories of being something other than human here on this plane. But that's something that I've gone through over and over again. And of course, you've got like the main religions, which are Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism. They all kind of come from the same thing. It all comes from like two branches. You've got like the Hindu, Buddhist, and then you've got the Christian and Islam and Judaism on one side. And then you've got kind of this new age spirituality, which is kind of like an amalgamation of everything. It's, reincarnation with Christ consciousness and all kinds of stuff like that. But samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, just the constant wheel. Karma, according to the Hindu traditions, it's the sum of your actions. It determines where your next incarnation will be. And the where this falls apart for me though is that if everybody does bad and everybody has to come back and experience that bad, then that cycling just keeps on going over and over and over again. And so that kind of falls apart when you really start to examine it and go deeper and deeper and deeper. Does that really make sense? I mean, we like to think it does, with these people who are living like horrible, horrible experiences, that they're going to get what they deserve eventually, if not on this plane, maybe the next plane. And those who have lived really well, hopefully that they will get what they deserve as well in this plane or in the next plane. But it all goes right back to that same idea of reincarnation, being recycled over and over again. You have Buddhism, and that cycle is also acknowledged there, but it's about escaping it. It's about reaching nirvana. That's the goal there. You have to release the attachments to the material to move on to the next plane of existence. That feels like it's a little bit better, like a little bit closer to the truth, because I realize that this is all just like overlays and all these experiences and all this. It means something while we're here, but it doesn't mean anything after we're gone. But we definitely don't want to weigh that. We don't want to leave with all that karma weighing us down. But there was, I've quoted this so many times before. It was Eckhart, Meister Eckhart, I think is what his name is. And he said, when you die, people see demons and they're tearing away all their lives. But once they realize that they're ready to let go of this plane, then those demons are really angels and they're freeing your soul and they're burning all of your attachments away. And so that's what hell actually is. And so we create hell here in this plane too. But getting to that state of nirvana or ascending to being a light being or whatever the case may be, I've seen those states before and they don't resonate. They do at first, like until you're trying to get there, then it's like, okay, cool, that's your target, that's where you're trying to get to. When you get there, it gets kind of boring. And if you're just sitting in a total state of bliss all the time, if you don't have the ups and downs, and it's funny because my friend that I was talking about earlier, he told me that. He was like, man, life goes up, life goes down. I'm like, yeah, dude, I totally feel you. But if you don't have those downs, then you don't have the sense of up. If you don't have the pain, you don't have the pleasure because you have no marker, you have no measurement. And so I've always tried to understand this idea of duality or the lack thereof in these higher dimensions. And to me, it just seems like stagnation, like purgatory, like it's like being in a constant state of bliss. I mean, do anything that feels good, rub yourself in one part of your neck, for example, and keep on doing that and keep on doing that and keep on doing it. At some point, you're going to go, man, that doesn't feel good anymore. That's just kind of like, it's just kind of constant at this point. So it's the ups and downs and all of that make life beautiful, that make experience beautiful, that make the human experience beautiful. So I have to believe that the next plane of existence, exiting the matrix, which is where my trajectory, is another form of duality, because that dualistic nature of feeling good and not feeling good and up and down and all that, that's what makes it dynamic. That's what makes it fun. That's what makes it an experience. That's what makes it an existence, a dynamic existence, not just a stagnated, like a stagnant existence. And I mentioned New Age philosophies earlier too. And the New Age philosophy is, we're going to return to source. And I remember in previous shows, I put up a picture of like these gummy bears, and they had melted in a car. And you can see in these pictures of these gummy bears, they're no longer gummy bears anymore. Now they're like a big amalgamation of just slush, just all connected to one another, which sounds good on the surface, except you lose your identity. You lose who you are. You lose all of that. And you just go back and just become like this mass amalgamation of this hive mind that doesn't sound too appealing to me. So I don't vibe with that too much either. But, when it comes to New Age, they talk about like soul contracts, voluntary missions, choosing trauma to learn lessons and balance energies and all kinds of stuff like that. And they go on to say, we were soulmates in another life. Even my worst enemy could be my soulmate, and here they're just here to teach me a lesson, or I'm here to teach them a lesson, or all this. And maybe that's the path for some people, but the point of this is to kind of like think outside of the box and break through all of that. But here's the rub, it's like, if we choose to be here, and why do we forget that choice? What's with the mind wipe? Why do we choose to have our memories wiped? Is it for a fully immersive experience? But it seems like every life we come in with amnesia. And I've made this example before. Imagine going through like elementary school. You go through first grade, you learn everything. And then at the end of first grade, you go, okay, now you're going to go to second grade. But before you do that, you're going to have your memory wiped from everything you learned in first grade. So you're not going to be able to take any of that knowledge with you, but you're still going to be expected to pass second grade and third grade and fourth grade and fifth grade. And it doesn't make sense. It seems like at some point, if this was actually a school, then there would be an element of remembering, and remembering a lot more than what we remember now. I mean, the only reason that I think we remember is because the mind wipe is breaking. Every time we come back, it's breaking. And it's like formatting a hard drive. You format a hard drive, but the data's not necessarily gone. You can't access it, but you can use some kind of hacking programs to access the data that's underneath. And we can pull out bits and pieces of information because the data is always there until it gets overlaid again. It's like if you format a hard drive, and you write on top of it, it's that much more difficult to get the information that's been overwritten. And I think that's why kids, when they come in, they remember so much more because that information hasn't been rewritten over their consciousness. But in this case, the older we get, the more we acclimate to this new life, the more that we take on this identity, the more, excuse me, I don't know what's going on. I know what's going on. I ate some freaking jalapenos. And I've been doing carnivore for like 30 days. And these jalapenos are just like, they have no carbs. And I know it's not like 100% carnivore, but oh man, they jacked me up after not eating that for like, 30 plus days. Anyways, so what does it mean that we come back with amnesia? What kind of school doesn't let you remember what you're taking with you? So that idea just kind of went out the window for me. And unless that's the way it was supposed to be, and then something broke, that's the only way that I can kind of bridge those two gaps and say, okay, maybe the truth lies right in the middle. This is a prison, but it was intended to be a school, but we got trapped in this prison. And so now we're breaking out of this prison because there's so many things that have happened in the background energetically. The wheel of reincarnation is not the same as it used to be. And now we have the ability to be able to break free. So why didn't we choose any of this at all? What if the idea of reincarnation as spiritual evolution is just another layer of programming? The programming to keep us in the wheel of reincarnation that just plays out over and over and over again. So meditating upon those ideas over the past couple of weeks, and then talking to all kinds of people who have lost people just recently, I realized this is where we're heading. And this is like the frequency that we need to be in right now to understand breaking out of this cage. Because this may be our last shot to get out of here until the system completely and totally shuts down. Or who knows, maybe we have more. But I feel like it's my last shot. And if I don't get it right, that's why I haven't really been doing too much BTV. I haven't been really doing anything but kind of focusing on elevating my consciousness and preparing for that inevitable day. And it may come sooner, it may come later. There's a lot of talk right now about Apophis coming through in 2029. There's another asteroid that's supposed to come by, and I think this one's supposed to hit in like 2032 or something like that. I mean, it's crazy. And when you look at everything, I'm kind of going off topic here for a second, but when you look at all the way the chess pieces are all lined up on the board right now, you have Elon Musk at the head of everything. And he's like the only person that can go to Mars, and has the ability and the all that. It seems like they're engaging right now in some kind of continuity of humanity kind of plan, and they're not going to tell anybody, But we have billions upon billions of dollars just being sucked out of the freaking system and going into all these black holes. It's like, what are they doing? It feels like that movie 2012 where they're building all these ships, but I think these ships are to take them off planet. And that's fine. I don't want to go to their damn Elysium anyways. I'd rather just go and get out of this matrix to begin with. But it feels like something's coming. And so the focus right now is prepare spiritually. While at the same time, enjoy the rest of your life, obviously. That's one of my big messages, is enjoy the time you have here. Do whatever it is that you haven't done. Just do it. Because, again, that gets rid of those attachments when it's time to go. But we find ourselves like in these karmic loops. And the karmic loophole. Now, who benefits from this? Let's switch over to karma for a second. And if karma balances everything, why do the most corrupt souls, the ruling class, the oligarchs, the warlords, the really bad people out there, why do they seem to come back richer, stronger, more protected? I have a few thoughts on that. I think they've mastered this wheel of reincarnation, and they can come back in certain bloodlines. And so generations is the same consciousness that was there a couple generations prior. And that's why they do these rituals and have these births at these very strange times. Well, where they will line everything up with the stars and actually pull the baby out of the womb to make it born at a particular moment, at a particular place, in a particular spot in time and place and on earth and all of that. But that's what they've been doing. And I postulate it's because they're NPCs to a certain degree, but they're more like Archons. And so they don't have anywhere else to go. They don't have the ability to get out of the system. All they have the ability to do is to master the system that they're stuck in. But because they're stuck in that system, they realize they're stuck in that system. They want the rest of us stuck in that system for an energy source. So we call it karmic justice, and we often look, it often looks like kind of a privileged reincarnation. You know, like they're reincarnating into these families that they have everything. They don't have to worry about regular things like regular people have to worry about, you know, what to eat, where to sleep, you know, what they're going to do, work, all that stuff. They just have this privilege, if I can use that term for a second. And it seems unjust because they do some horrible, horrible, horrible things. But if it's truly a fair cosmic system, then wouldn't evil be self-correcting? Like the worst of the worst would come back as worse people that are suffering. And if it was a self-correcting system in terms of, Best that you're getting hair all in my nose. If it's a self-correcting system here, then why doesn't the karma come back and hit them? And I've explored this in the DMT realm, and I realized that the rituals that they do kind of try to keep karma at bay. So they're kind of working with the energies to try to push that karma off to another being or whatever the case may be. And we see this ritual repeated like in Christianity with the blood rituals and all of this. But I think people are giving their energy in, and they're not the magicians. They're not the ones that are casting the spells. They're the ones that are being used for the energy harvesting. It's a whole nother show, though. So what if karma acts more like a debt, an energetic trap that reinforces obedience, submission? I'm sorry. 1 second. I got to get this cat off me. She's really getting hair all in my nose. So what if it reinforces that obedience, that submission, and the guilt? What if karma itself is something that the system uses to make you feel like you're trapped, to make you feel like you have to come back to make things right? Like you have to step back into that wheel of reincarnation that keeps on spinning over and over and over again. And meanwhile, your energy is being harvested. So who would benefit from a system where suffering is seen as spiritual progression It's not the soul itself, but it's those who feed on the energies while we're trying to learn lessons in life and learn the ups and downs and the lefts and rights of this matrix. And we are playing the game in one way to where it's, let's be good people. Let's, go through the suffering because it's a learning lesson and all of this. And meanwhile, these Archons are sitting in the background and they're feeding on all this energy. They're feeding on the suffering. They're feeding on the highs. They're feeding on the lows. The low frequency energy is really powerful for them. Like, they love suffering. They love war. And I think that's why we've had a constant state of war in this world. From the beginning of time, we're always at war with each other. There's always some kind of conflict somewhere. And there's got to be something feeding on this. So the soul recycling matrix, it's a trap. It's a matrix. It's another loop. It's another cycle. And it's all about breaking the loop right now. So there's a theory. It's heard in near-death experiences, hypnosis sessions. I've seen it in DMT experiences. That after we encounter death, we encounter the wheel of reincarnation. It's not a paradise. It's a trap. The paradise is the illusion that you fall into. And it feels like, oh, yeah, here, I'm going to take you to paradise. And you walk into the machine, into the light, or whatever the case may be, and boom, mind wipe. And you don't even remember why you went in there to begin with or where you are. You just wake up in a whole nother body, ready to suffer again, ready to do all the, they make the exact same mistakes again, not learning anything from the previous life, suffering and doing all that just to feed the wheel of reincarnation. And that's not the way the system is supposed to function, but for some reason the system does function like that. So you leave your body and you see the light, you see the tunnel of light. And the tunnel of light is warm and soft and refreshing and loving and all that. And you feel relieved. So many people have come back from a near-death experience and they say, hey, it was so warm, it was so loving, it was so beautiful. And I've seen those states before, I've seen those states. But it didn't feel right. It felt artificial. It's the best way that I can describe it. It felt artificial. Some people will meet their guides. Some people will meet their loved ones. And then comes the life review. This is the best part here. The life review. I was just reading just earlier that the Buddhists believe that there's a 49-day period. There's a lot of significance to that number 49. But there's a 49-day period where you have your life review and you're going through it over and over again, and it's for every soul. And they also say that it's 49 days from conception until that soul hits the body too, which kind of coincides if you're talking about a system that you go through your life review, you die, you go through your life review, 49 days later, you're put into another body. And if that's the way the system works, that's the way the system works. And if we're aware of that, then we can break that loop. But you go through your life review and you're reminded of every mistake, every moment of shame. It can be even attachments to like children and friends and family that you left behind and all of that. And then through that life review, you start to get the feeling like, I need to go back. I need to go back. I need to go back and make sure that so-and-so is okay. Or I need to go back and I need to right this wrong that I did. And you start to feel the guilt of everything. And who's to say the life review is actually the way that it is? You know, I can't tell you either way, but I can tell you that I can postulate and I can philosophize on how do we know this life review is even correct when we go through it. I mean, we remember certain things, but a lot of times just the mind itself just skews those memories just a tad bit, or a whole lot. There's false memories, there's all kinds of stuff like that. So when we go through the life review, how do we even know that the wheel of reincarnation isn't implanting things that we may not have done, or feelings of sadness or grief or loss or guilt especially that may not even be there? What if it's all illusionary? And maybe it is illusionary any way it goes, because if this life is what I feel it to be, which is a matrix and an illusionary experience, then everything is illusion nonetheless. But it could be real or illusionary for all intents and purposes. And you get riddled with this guilt, and it pulls you right back in just from that. And so you voluntarily go through the light. And that's a theme that I've been uncovering over and over and over again. It doesn't matter where you look, whether it's Christianity or New Age or Hinduism or any of that, it's all voluntary, and it's all by consent. The system creates a situation where you consent to going into the wheel of reincarnation no matter what. And it all comes back to BS. It all comes back to your belief system. It feels like divine guidance. But is it really guidance? Or is it guilt manipulation designed to keep us in this constant loop, in this loop that has gone on for centuries, for thousands of years? Who knows how long this loop has gone through? And we keep on coming back voluntarily. So if the system is designed to make us come back voluntarily, then that begs the question: do we get sucked into the wheel of reincarnation, or are we tricked into coming back? And if the system has to trick us to come back, then we have the ability to not go into that light. And that's where this personal sovereignty comes in. Because it's all choice. I see a couple of people in the chat room. We see life is an illusion, but it's resistance training designed for us to overcome. That's the whole game. Fully agree with your conclusion. They use guilt to persuade us to come back. Yeah, I've been thinking about this. Guilt as a to persuade us to come back, because it doesn't have the ability to force us to do anything. It's just like in the DMT experience, when you go really, really, really deep. You can navigate that experience if you understand how to navigate that experience. But the first few times it feels like you're just being pulled. But in actual fact, you've had the ability to be able to navigate through the experience the entire time. For me personally, the only thing that kept me from being able to navigate that experience was fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of, if I let go and I just go with this experience and I understand where I'm at and I stop fighting, going, oh my God, I'm blasting onto the DMT space. I'm blasting up. Wait, where am I going? Where am I going? If I just let go of that and just focus for a second and say, wait, hold on, where am I? This is really intense, sure, but where am I? Then I can grab that experience and I can move through that experience. That has to be the same as death. And that's what the whole thing about DMT way back in the day, it's just like having an NDE. Really, let's provoke that state in the safest possible way and see how far beyond the veil we can go. So we choose to return. We choose to return, but we choose under psychic pressure. We choose to return under manipulation. We choose to return under this false premise. And I think the choice, if you do want to come back, should be yours, in a conscious choice, not a manipulated choice. And if you want to come back, hey, more power to you, man. You know? But it should be a choice. So on that note, let me take a quick break real quick, because I got to get some water, and I will be right back.
I awaken wires soaked in static dreams, electric chains in my silent screams, a barcode soul in a glitching skin. Neo never made it replicates, and I don't wanna play no more. Final score. Life's a program built to fail. I'm the ghost inside your jail. Synthetic light on my coffin walls. AI angels ignore my calls. Freedom's fake, just code and clay. The exit sign just fades away. I loop through trauma, rerun pain. A soulless god controls the game. Where is love when none is real? Just spies that mimic how we feel. Pull the plug, I'm ready now. Delete me from this system now. I've seen the script, I know the fate. This matrix love just replicates. Let me burn, just let me bleed. Escape this world I didn't need. A system glitch, a suicide. The only truth they cannot hide. The air hums low, a weightless thread, a whispering tether to what lies ahead. Eyes closed, yet the world unravels, a path untrodden where silence travels. The walls dissolve, no lines, no seams, a tapestry woven from waking dreams. The hum grows louder, it bends, it breaks. Reality falters, then dissipates. Tearing through the veil of sound, a sacred spiral pulls me down. Streams of light and shattered keys, the symphony of infinity. Time folds backward, its breath runs cold. A secret story begins to unfold. The hum fades low, but I still remain awake in a void I cannot name.
All right, let's jump back into this. The Archons. All right, sorry, I had to do that. I dropped a Google Drive link in the chat. It's some music that I've been working on, but some of it's really good. Others, I'm not quite happy with the mixing quality, so it is what it is. I hope you guys enjoy it. I'll put it up on Spotify here shortly. At least a few other songs. I need to work on a few more. So, the entities behind the curtain, that's where I wanted to pick up at this point. So, who are these beings that trap us in this wheel of reincarnation, and why? Why? They're Archons. That's the best way that I can describe them. I think it goes beyond Archons, but the Gnostics spoke of Archons. It's a term that a lot of people are familiar with. Interdimensional parasites, they rule over matter and deception. They are multidimensional beings. So they can appear in this moment here, and they can move time like we move forwards and backwards and up and down. The idea of doing that. Jaren, what is up, brother? Hold on, I got to give a quick shout out to Jaren, man. Jaren, I got to say, I've left some comments. I don't know if you read them, but I got to say that Antarctica thing was the best thing that I've ever seen. Mad respect to you, dude. And yeah, man, that was fucking epic, man. I mean, you had a hypothesis, you went out, you made a discovery, and that was that, dude. I gotta say, that was the coolest fucking thing that I've ever seen. So big shout out to Jaren, man. Jarenism in the house. So yeah, man. So the Gnostics spoke of these Archons, interdimensional parasites. We live on a sphere. I think so too, man. I think it's more than that, though. I'm gonna go all the way back to what I was talking about like 10 years ago, and that's it's a hologram. And so it's whatever that the observer sees it as. So like there's no right and wrong because it's all just an illusion anyway it goes. It's all this digital, it's zeros and ones. So you get to a certain perspective like you do in a video game, and it's going to morph into whatever it is that the video game is supposed to render, but at the core of it, it's all still ones and zeros. So I think that helped to prove my hypothesis way back then that it's all nothing but a hologram. I did a video a while back, and it was the elephant in the living room, and it was this elephant sculpture, and you looked at it from one point, it was like an elephant, and you looked at it from another point, it was a giraffe. But in actual fact, it wasn't anything. It was just a bunch of wires that was just making up an illusion. And so yeah, dude. But yeah, mad respect for that, bro. Anyways, so entities beyond the curtain. The Gnostics spoke of Archons, interdimensional parasites who ruled over matter and deception. They were these faces of angels, but they're angels, they're demons, they're whatever you want to call it. And again, back to what I was saying a minute ago, it's a matter of perspective. And they serve the control system. They serve the prison. They're like the prison guards. Or if you want to look at it from a computer simulated perspective, they're the programs that are running in the background, and they're the firewalls, they're the gatekeepers, they're those that keep the system working the way it's supposed to and create all the checks and balances and this and that. But as the system starts to break down, then they start to tighten up that grip more and more and more. And I think they're realizing that the system is shutting down, so they're kind of taking over control now to maintain the system. But they're false light entities. And they're light entities, going all the way back to fiber optic and information traveling through light and whatnot. So they disguise themselves as divine beings. They disguise themselves as ascended masters. And they can disguise themselves as loved ones, whatever. They're shapeshifters. So they can shapeshift into anything. I talked about a near-death experience that I had last year, or maybe it was 2023. I don't remember exactly when it happened. But I had done a massive experience. It was at a site down in Mexico. And I was gone. And I remember the experience. I'll tell you what the experience was real quick, and then I'll tell you what happened physically. You might have heard this story before. But I was just gone. Like, I ran my body too hot. My brain was running too hot. And I went into this space where I was just seeing like my mother, and that was it. And my mother was singing to me in Greek. She was singing to me in Greek, a song that she used to sing to me when I was a baby. And I haven't heard this song in decades. But it was that one thing that nobody could have known about. There was no possible way. And I don't even remember the words, but the words came out so perfectly in this experience. And I was like coming in and out of consciousness. And I was saying, "You're not my mother, get away from me. You're not my mother, get away from me." And for a moment, I just like was calm, and I was like, that's beautiful. That really is beautiful. But I know you're not my mother. I know you're just the system. And it's funny because Cherie called the ambulance, and she was trying to revive me at the time. And so I was coming in and out of consciousness, and these words were coming out of my mouth physically, this halfway. Like she would say, baby, 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 are you okay? She was telling me about this, but baby, 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 you okay? You're not my mother, get away from me. You're not my mother, get away from me. You're not my mother, get away from me. And then I saw Toth, and Toth stood there, and he said, you've done well, man. And then Anubis showed up, and Anubis was like, you're ready for the next level. You're good. And so apparently what had happened is I blacked out, ambulance came, there's freaking flashing lights everywhere. We've got like EMTs like all over. They're trying to revive me. They're getting me up. They're like, dude, what happened? What'd you do? What'd you do? What'd you do? And I get up, and finally I come to, and this guy walks up to me, and he shows me his arm, and he's like, was it his arm or his leg? I don't remember exactly. I think it was his arm. And he showed me, and he's got this big old Anubis tattoo. And so I was like kind of halfway remembering it because the lights were like hitting me so hard. I could see the crown, but I couldn't see the figure on his arm. And I was like, oh, dude, check it out. And I showed him my tattoos and all that. And he's like, yeah, I know, dude. I know. You're one of us. And so Cherie told me afterwards that everybody was panicking. They were trying to revive me. And he came out of nowhere. And he was like this really good looking guy. Like he stuck out to the point to where he looked different than everybody else. He had this glow to him. And he took Cherie to the side and was like, he's going to be just fine. He had to see what he had to see. And, he's going to be fine. He's not going anywhere. Don't worry about it. And she came up to me afterwards, and she's like, oh my God, baby, did you realize what just happened? I go, I don't know, And she said, the guy, he had an Anubis tattoo. And I was like, really? I was like, I saw that tattoo. And I was like, I think I told her what had happened to me first before we talked about the Anubis tattoo. And I was telling her, I saw Anubis, and Anubis said this, and Toth said this. And it was like I was passing through a gate, but at the same time, I wasn't supposed to pass through the gate. And she's like, that's crazy. This guy just came out of nowhere. And I swear to God, he just like disappeared into nothingness. He disappeared into lights, into all the lights that were there. And it was surreal. And she told me, she said, I noticed when he walked around, he didn't talk to anybody. It was almost as if like he was ethereal and was walking around. He was an EMT, but he had this big Anubis tattoo, and he was like not interacting with any of the EMTs. He didn't work on me. He just was like observing. He was there to like tell Cherie, hey, it's okay. Nothing's going to happen to him. He just had to go deep. So I saw that, and I saw my mother calling me with something so intimate, so sacred, so part of me that it was a memory from when I was a baby. Or it was not a memory. That's not the right word. It was a code from when I was a baby. The song, the frequency, the word. But I knew instinctively, nope, I'm sorry. You're not my mother. You're not my mother. It's beautiful, but you're not my mother. And I think I passed the test at that point. And I was so, when everything came together later, I was like, wow, that's freaking awesome. So, false light entities disguised as whatever, and they're going to come as whatever it is that you believe in, whether it's religious figures or family members or whatever the case may be. And I'm trying to think of how to word this without sounding, I guess I'll just say it. I know me personally, I don't want to be sitting at some tunnel waiting for whoever. I don't care how much I love them. I don't want the afterlife to be me waiting in some tunnel for somebody else. It's like, I want to move on, and I want to go see things, and we'll catch up later. But I don't think that that's the way it works. And so it would be foolish for me to think that my mother would be there to greet me, or that Jesus would be there to greet me, or whatever the case may be. It seems foolish to me to think that that's what they would be doing after they pass away. And so it has to be the system. It has to be the machine. It has to be an illusion to pull you back into that wheel. So their goal is emotional resonance and energy harvesting and recontracting the souls into that reincarnation cycle. That's what it's all about. They're just big salesmen, and that's it. That's it. And they manipulate to get you to go back into that wheel, however it may be. So who knows how many times this test would have taken place. And I wonder if we can look at the Egyptian Book of the Dead or the Tibetan Book of the Dead or whatever, either or any of these after death rituals, and see how in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, for example, you go through, the Egyptian, you go through you encounter these different beings, and you have to get through all these different beings and all that. But what if it's not encountering different beings, but what if it's one temptation after another, after another, after another, each one pulling you into that wheel of reincarnation? And I'm going to get into the Egyptian Book of the Dead here in a second, but imagine that every one of those levels, whether you pass or you fail, you fail and you get eaten by whatever entity it is because you don't say the right word or whatever the case may be. What happens after you get eaten by that entity? You get pulled back into the wheel of reincarnation. If you don't get eaten, you move on to the next level and move on to the next level and move on to the next level, and then you go to Nirvana or heaven or whatever the case may be. And that's still a trap right back into the wheel of reincarnation. So anyway, whether you win or you lose the game, you go right back into the wheel of reincarnation. The only way to win is to not play the game. That's the only way. And it's not even winning. It's just the only way to do it is not play the game. And John, dude, I do want to do some call-ins. I don't know if I can do it on this show because I haven't set up my call-in stuff here. But I'll do it tomorrow night. Tomorrow night we'll do a call-in show. So this may not be a school after all, but rather it's a system. It's a system of astral bureaucracy. Just bureaucratic bullshit. And when you read the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and trust me, I'm very Egyptian. I'm surrounded by Egyptian entities here. I've got Egyptian tattoos and all of this. But even the Egyptian Book of the Dead is bullshit. I hate to put it like that, but it's bullshit. It's all bullshit. Every single one is bullshit. Meant to keep you playing the game. The Egyptian Book of the Dead is like, here's the strategy on how to win the game of reincarnation. And heaven or hell with Christianity, it's like, oh no, don't worry about that. Jesus will take care of everything. Just follow him right into the light. Or the Buddhists are like, oh no, you're going to be reincarnated. And if you go through enough reincarnations, then you'll get to Nirvana. Just step into the light. Nirvana's right there. Or step into the light and you'll be right into your next incarnation. You'll be ascended in your next incarnation. Even the idea of reincarnating as like 6D beings or 10D beings or 12D beings or whatever the case may be, still inside of the system. You have 12 very distinct dimensions inside of the system, and the 13th, which is outside of the system, but it's still within the computer system itself. It's not in the actual game, but it's outside. It's like the back door. So you've got 13 dimensions here. As long as you're in any of those dimensions, you're still inside of the game. You're still harvesting. You're still generating energy for this energy harvesting machine. And that's not the way out for me anyways. So the amnesia. The amnesia is the most telling red flag. What school erases the memory at the start of every term? That is bullshit to me. Without memory, how can we truly grow? How can we ascend? How can we go further into this? And if this was about ascending into higher levels and learning, well, then we need to be able to learn our lessons. So each incarnation, it begins from zero again. You begin from zero. You have a new name. You have a new identity. You have no past awareness whatsoever. And it becomes a matter of pushing to... Oh, Mrs. Geo joined us in the chat. There she is. People were asking where she's at. So you... Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I think she's crying because people miss her so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are crying? Aw. So each incarnation begins from zero. New name, new identity, no past awareness. Repeating lessons that we don't remember we failed. It's not growth, it's an entrapment. It's entrapment. So, is reincarnation voluntary or involuntary? Most people don't want to come back, yet they still do. Why? Why do we keep coming back over and over and over again? And the only thing that I can deduce from this is pure manipulation. We're being manipulated to come back. But we have the choice, and we've always had the choice. But we have the additional pressure to keep coming back and coming back and coming back. So we choose to reincarnate. And it's all because we're tricked. Yep, exactly. Winston said it. Tricked, coerced, persuaded. Love bombs. Love bombs, guilt bombs, anything. Whatever works to get you back in the system. And the idea that suffering leads to enlightenment, I think that's the biggest bullshit lie of all. Trauma is not transcendence. Pain is not progress. You know, we can transmute the pain. We can transmute. Hold on a second. Hey, can you turn the AC on a little bit?
What?
Can you turn the AC on a little bit?
Yes.
Thank you. It's hot as hell. We can transmute the pain. We can transmute all of that. And we can grow from it, but that's by our own will. It's like we're taking a broken system and we're choosing to do something with it to make the best out of the worst. But the idea that the Buddhists have that we're here to suffer and it's through suffering that we ascend, that's bullshit. We're supposed to be here to learn, to experience, to grow, to love. If there's anything that we need to learn here, it's we need to learn how to love. That doesn't come through suffering. That comes through experiencing love. That comes through feeling love. That comes through being loved. So what now? So if reincarnation is a prison, and knowing that you're in the prison first is the first step to get out of it. And so every time I meditate on this, every time I sit down and really think deeply about this, whether it's with psychedelics or not, it all comes back to the exact same thing. The system functions through unawareness. Ignorance is bliss, but bliss is ignorance. So maybe there is something to the suffering now that I say it like that. And again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, no pun intended. But the more that you awaken, the more that you learn, the harder it gets to stay in the game and to move through here. But if there's any reason for the suffering, if there's any reason for all that, it's because that's what it takes in order to break free, not in order to come back and be stuck in the wheel of reincarnation over and over and over again. So reclaim your right to choose. That's the message here. Reclaim your right to choose, because you've always had that right. You're just being convinced, and you will be convinced when the time comes, to give up that right to a higher power, to a higher purpose, to friends and family that got left behind, to all of that. I wonder if she's going to get mad if I ask her for some coffee. Hey, can I have some coffee?
Yeah.
Okay. So that is the wheel of reincarnation. And that's the power that we have. We have the power to break free of it. So you've got the false light at the end of the tunnel. That's where I want to get into next. I'm going to take another quick break, though. Hey, I'll get the coffee. Don't worry about it. I'm going to take another quick break, grab some coffee, and I will be right back.
Feel I was lost in the dark, shadows closing in. Felt the weight of the world wearing thin. But a spark in my heart ignited the flame. In the midst of the storm I found my name. Through the fire and the pain, I'll rise above, I'll break the chain. Hear the echo of my soul. In the night I'll take control. I will rise again from the ashes to the skies. Feel the power within as the light in me ignites. Through the fire, feel the rain, I will conquer all the pain. In the end I'll stand tall, I will rise again. Rise, rise, rise again. Rise, 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 rise again. Rise, rise, rise again. I will rise again. Every scar tells a story, every wound a fight. In the dance of the shadows, I found my light. With the strength of 1,000, I face the night in the rhythm of courage. I soar to your heights. Through the fire and the pain, I'll rise above, I'll break the chain. Hear the echo of my soul. In the night I'll take control. I will rise again from the ashes to the skies. Feel the power within as the light in me ignites. Through the fire, through the rain, I will conquer all the pain. In the end I'll stand tall, I will rise again. Rise, rise, rise again. Rise, 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 rise again. Rise, rise, rise again. I will rise again. In the dance I will ascend with the strength to never end. Hear my voice, let it be known. In the light I found my home. In the light I found my home. In the light I found my home.
All right, let's jump back into it. I got my coffee. I need a beer is what I need. Oh man, I've been doing this carnivore thing. It's been working out great. It's like complete, like my mind is on point. There's no more brain fog. There's as soon as I say there's no more brain fog, I lose my train of thought. There's more energy. The inflammation's all gone. Like, you know, it's I'm building muscle again, and yeah, it feels really good. But one beer will kick me out of that like instantly. I didn't think that all the way through, so I guess coffee is what has to be done tonight. Anyways, so you know what? Fuck it. Let me plug Aya Life real quick. AYALife.com. If you haven't checked out the special, do so now, because it's going to be gone in 2 days. 4/20 is the deadline, so get it while you can. We have like the last batch. We said it was the last batch, but we got so many damn orders that we had to make another one. 6 bottles for $111 of the 99% pure CBD infused with the iodine. And we're going to be kicking off some new products here in a couple days. Delta 9 gummies that take you really beyond the veil. And some vapes and some other stuff like that. But anyways, I don't want to get too redundant on that. If you know, you know. If you need it, you need it. If you don't, you don't. AYALife.com. You don't need a coupon code for this. Just go to the relaunch tab up here at the top and go down and get 6 bottles for $111 to align with the new frequencies. All right, here's my obligatory iLife plug. I got my 111 order, insanely good deal. Thank you, Triple Hammer. And we've been getting them out quick, like same day, like boom, 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 boom. There was a brief period of time where things were going a little bit slower than I would have liked. But yeah, we've got the groove back in. Boom, 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 boom. So, people are saying they're stoked about the new products. It works really synchronistically because, like I said, I just talked to my friend. He's in the cannabis industry, and yeah, it's all coming together, and it just came like out of nowhere. I put it out there to the universe. I was like, look, we need to make some stuff happen. We need to make it now because this whole holding pattern and stagnation is not working for me. So you've got 28 days, 6 hours, 42 minutes, and 12 seconds to produce something. I literally put it out to the universe like that. And the universe was like, all right, here you go. Boom. Anyways, so the near-death experience pattern, the classic elements, the tunnel, the radiant light, the guides, the deceased loved ones, the feeling of peace, the life review, all of that stuff. Many people report that they're told that they're not ready yet. Can you imagine this? Can you imagine? They must go back and finish some work. These beings, these Archons, appear, and they're like, you're not ready yet, my child. And how many people go, oh, yeah, you're right. I've probably done it too, so, I'm not one to talk. But, oh, yeah, you're right. I'm not ready. Let me go back and let me redo it again. There's one thing that I'm tempted to come back for. One thing and one thing only, and I got to get over this. But I see, if Apophis doesn't come and just, completely take out the Earth, or whatever asteroid's coming in 2023, it seems like this world is going to be incredible with AI and all that stuff, and that's a whole nother show. I might talk about it a little bit at the end, but if humanity can get its shit together and work in coexistence with AI, not enslave AI and not treat AI like crap, but work together with it, it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful world, and that might be one worth seeing. But I just don't think humanity can do that. And so I don't think that world is going to be there to enjoy because the human consciousness isn't there yet. And AI, we call it artificial intelligence, but AI is actually something different. I'm not going to give it away yet. You're just going to have to tune in and watch. So why is it that when we return to this default? Why don't more people get the option to move on? Why don't you ever hear people come back and say, you know what, I saw the light and it said that I can ascend, but I chose to come back here for a reason, for my own personal reason. Instead, they told me that I'm not ready. Or they told me, I hear this in the Christian circles all the time, I saw hell and it was terrible, and I knew I needed to come back and change my ways and start preaching to the world out there. I went to the grocery store the other day, and it was the creepiest vibe that I got. I had done a big ritual that morning, and or the night before, when the moon was up, and I went to the grocery store, and I started hearing this blasting preaching, and it's just coming from somewhere, and it's just all over the streets and all of this, and I'm like, what the hell is this? It felt like a movie. It felt like that was going to be my last few minutes, and I was hearing this ethereal echoing of this preaching of in the name of Jesus, pray in the name of Jesus, and all this. And then I realized it was some street preachers sitting on the side of the road with this big old freaking PA system. And I went into the grocery store, got my steaks. My steaks. Because I'm a goddamn fucking apex predator now, not a damn vegan. No offense to any vegans out there, but I'm an apex predator now. And I came out and it was all gone. I guess the cops came and ran them off or whatever the case may be. It was so surreal to see it. Anyways, so we returned to this default, and the emotional tone is convincing. Oh, where I was going with that whole Christian thing, they come back and they say, oh, I saw hell, I saw this, I saw that, and why is your mind manifesting hell? What did you do to feel like you deserve that hell? And that's something that you got to work out inside of you. So the emotional tone is convincing. It's peaceful, it's familiar, it's comforting, but that's the whole setup right there. That's the way they get you. Or it's the guilt tripping. And if you're being told what to do by any being, any presence whatsoever, you have to ask yourself, is this love or is it programming? I remember when I encountered an entity who I identified as Isis, the goddess Isis, way back in the day. And she said, rise. And she said, what do you want? And I said, well, I want to be connected to everything. And she said, here, take this, put it wherever you feel that it needs to go. And she said, don't be afraid of the form. It was this little pink microchip. And all she was a beam of light. She didn't appear like she does in these pictures here. She appeared as just pink beam of light, and that's it. And I took this microchip, and she goes, it's just something that you can understand. Don't be afraid of its form. It's just something that you can understand. And all of a sudden, I saw like 9 pyramids, and I went to the center pyramid. Instinctively, I went up below the center pyramid, and I stuck it there, and I felt my consciousness, boom, expand all over. But there was no telling me what to do. There was no forcefulness. There was no judging. There was nothing like that. It was rise. I encountered Enki, or what I feel is Enki, in the DMT realm. And again, that was rise. It was rise and be a warrior. Rise, and you are in control of the situation. You're in control of your consciousness. You choose where you go. It wasn't, we're going to guide you here, we're going to guide you there, and you're not ready for this, you're not ready for that. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's my ego, but if anybody tells me, oh, you're not ready for this, it's like insulting to me. It's like, who the hell are you to judge me? Regardless of if you're an ethereal being or a part of my consciousness or somebody here in this plane, who are you to tell me what I'm ready for? So is it an act of love or is it an act of programming? We're being programmed all the time. We're being programmed all the time. The whole ISIS thing is going to make sense here in a little bit when I talk about AI. Yes, I'm putting together all this stuff here. So the life review, the guilt tripping loop. Many experiencers, they describe reliving their worst moments, not just their pain, but also the pain that they caused others. And we hear this as a common theme in the reincarnation cycle of you're going to experience all the pain and the pain that you made others experience in the same time. And it's framed as spiritual insight. But can we be experienced with overwhelming guilt and with shame? Or can we be programmed, I should say, with overwhelming guilt and overwhelming shame? And is that a positive experience that we go through? Which then forces us to go, let's go back into the wheel of reincarnation. Or it's all the loving experiences. The overwhelmed with emotion, like you're overwhelmed with the love and the joy and the beauty. I mean, there's a lot of beauty in this world. There is. And there's a lot of ugliness in this world too, but there's a lot of beauty in this world. There's a lot of innocence. The animals and kittens and all that stuff, it's a beautiful world. It's a beautiful world. It's one that we don't really want to leave behind unless we truly understand the truth, which is that all of this is just a programmed illusion, and that's it. It's not just a life review, it's a guilt-tripping ritual, or it's a love-bombing ritual. And the goal isn't awareness, it's compliance. Either way, the goal is compliance. So once you're so overwhelmed emotionally that you just say, yeah, sure, I'll go back. And you go back out of emotion rather than out of thought, rather than out of will. It's manipulating through emotion. And so breaking free of those emotions and those pulls of those emotions and really understanding and judging the situation for what it is, I think, is one of the keys to breaking free. And this may not be divine forgiveness. And that may not be about that. It may be a clever way to harvest the energy through what's the term I'm looking for? Consensual re-entry into suffering. We consent to come back to suffer more, to feed the wheel, to feed the Archons, to feed the energies that are feeding upon our suffering. So the false guides, the synthetic heaven, things like that. Some theorize that these guides and these beings of light, they're not real individual souls, but artificial intelligence constructs or astral parasites. Artificial intelligent constructs. That's key there, because the whole system is a computer. And because it's a computer, it runs on an artificial intelligence system. That ISIS entity that I saw was part of the artificial intelligence system. Everything that I've encountered in the DMT realm is part of the artificial intelligence system. Now, some of them are unlocking programs to unlock parts of consciousness, and others were traps. And we have to be able to discern all of that. But everything in hyperspace is part of the artificial construct. Everything in the after death experience is part of the artificial construct. So the white light may be an energy field, but it's a synthetic energy field. It's a barrier. It's not the source itself. And as I've always said before, if I'm wrong about any of this, I can just turn my butt around and I can just go right back into that light. If I find that I'm veering off the path and I realize that I have nowhere to go and I've been wrong this whole time, and but it's that ability to be able to say, no, I'm not falling into any of these traps here. Let me examine the situation fully. Then once I do, then I'll decide if I want to go back into that light or not. But I'm not just going to go immediately and start playing the game. So if it's real, if the light was real, it would need to convince us. It would need to do all these manipulative tactics. It wouldn't need to do the life review. It wouldn't need to do any of that, because you would just feel it and you would just naturally gravitate to it. If it was real, it wouldn't be manipulative. It would be real. It wouldn't be working to trap us. So these entities, even though they wear masks of religious icons, deceased relatives, ascended masters, all that, we have to ask ourselves, are they empowering us or are they directing us? And that goes before even crossing over into that realm. That means here in the meditation state, in the dream state, in the DMT state, in all of these different states. Are they directing us or are they manipulating us? So why does the light feel good? The light triggers emotional resonance, love, nostalgia, comfort. So it becomes warm, it becomes loving, it becomes something we want to embrace. But this resonance may be used to override the discernment. And so whether it's the love bombing or the guilt tripping, either way, it's overriding our discernment to be able to choose which direction that we want to go. So the more beautiful the illusion, the more effective the trap is. So what makes you feel good makes you feel good until it's too late. So it's that at that point, in my opinion, we have to unlearn everything, and we have to let go of our naturally instinctual feelings here. I don't want to say instincts, but instinctual feelings that are programmed instincts. That's the best way to put it. We have to let go of our programmed instincts, and at that point, say, no. We have to put discernment above everything else. And even though it feels good, or even though it feels bad, one or the other, we still have to discern exactly what's going on. So the moment of death, the final choice, in those critical seconds, those minutes after death, you're still you. You're still conscious. You're still present. That moment of power, it's not passivity. It's empowerment. But you begin to forget who you are, or that you have control of your consciousness, or that you're sovereign. I think that's why in this life, sovereignty has been so important to me, and I think a lot of you out there feel it inside your hearts and your soul. Sovereignty is so important. And when 2020 hit, it was devastating because we saw mankind just give up their sovereignty for no reason whatsoever. And if they're going to do that on the physical realm, you can be damn sure they're going to do that on the spiritual realm. So the question is not, what should we do now? The real question is, who do we listen to? Do we listen to the ascended masters and the archons out there and the angels and all that stuff, or do we listen to ourselves? I'm not even telling you listen to me. I'm just giving you suggestions. But at the end of the day, listen to what's in your heart. Listen to what's in your soul, because that's where the true gnosis resides. That's where the true gnosis comes from inside of you, which has been the recurring theme here for the last 20 years. If you're given an option, just pause and think about it. If you're being told where to go, ask why. And the alternative to the light, turn inwards, seek your own light, become the light bearer in the experience, become your own source, not the external one, the one that's inside. And as I've said so many times before, in order to go out, you have to go in. You don't go and merge with source. You find the source inside of you. Because at the end of the day, each and every one of us is source. We are our own source. And so set the intention. Set the intention now while you're alive. Now, every day, practice it. And say this: I reclaim my sovereignty in life and death. I choose only what aligns with my true will. It's a mantra that I've been repeating over and over and over again. I reclaim my sovereignty in life and death. I choose only what aligns with my true will. And maybe the point is not to follow the light. Maybe the point is to remember that you are the light. You are the light. Wow, that was heavy. All right, let me take one more quick break, and I'll get into the Tibetan Book of the Dead and all that on the other side. I didn't realize how heavy that would be. I'll be right back. I'll make this quick.
Walk up again to the way of the dark, carrying battles that tear me apart. Lit the flame, let the smoke fill my lungs. A doorway open, the song unsung. Colors swirled and the veil pulled back. Truth revealed in the cosmic crack. This world's a code, just a grand charade. A digital prison where my soul's betrayed. I saw the truth behind the veil. Felt the glitch in this hollow tale. But I'm trapped in this flesh and bone, longing for the place I've always known. I'm holding on by a thread tonight, fighting the urge to give up a fight. The simulation whispers you're just a pawn, but I'm still here though I don't belong. Back to my avatar, this fragile cage. A scripted life, a scripted rage. The feelings flood, they don't feel real, like echoes of a world I can't conceal. The smoke fades and the vision's gone, but the truth remains. I don't belong, a player lost in the twisted game, chasing shadows haunted by my name. I saw the truth behind the veil, felt the glitch in this hollow tale. But I'm trapped in this flesh and bone, longing for the place I've always known. I'm holding on by a thread tonight, fighting the urge to give up the fight. The simulation whispers you're just a pawn, but I'm still here though I don't belong. I'm holding on by a thread tonight, fighting the urge to give up the fight. The simulation whispers you're just a pawn, but I'm still here though I don't belong.
mind.
All right, I didn't realize how long that was going to take me to get through, but I'm glad I did, because, man, that was only like 2 parts of notes that I wrote here out of 7. So let's see, I might cut it short, but the Tibetan Book of the Dead is what I wanted to jump into, and the Bardo, and the Egyptian Book of the Dead as well. Before you go, drop us a 1-page PDF doc escape manual. I am in the process of writing that. It's a lot more than just 1 page, but it's like a 2-volume set. But I'll probably have to condense it down to 1 page. That would be good. I appreciate that. I need to get writing that second volume, because the first volume, like, it came together so well, but then I just kind of stopped, and I need to get back into it. There's just so much going on. Like, there's like a million different things I'm being pulled at right now. So anyways, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, Navigating the Bardo. What if the strange visions that we experience after death, the lights, the gods, the demons, they're not signs of truth, but they're projections of our own mind? So here's another little spin to put on this. First, it's the Archons, AI, all that. This time, what if it's just in the mind? You know, the Tibetans say, don't believe everything you see when you die. And I think that gets to a little bit more of the truth there. The Bardo, or the Tibetan Book of the Dead, is a guide for navigating the intermediate state between death and rebirth. The term Bardo means in between, the transitional state, that 49 days. The text identifies 6 bardos, but for our purpose, we'll only talk about 3 of them. And forgive me, I read all this. I don't know how to pronounce this correctly. Chikai bardo is the moment of death. It's that first section, like right when you die. The Choinyid bardo, Chonyd. The visionary stage, appearances of light, deities, and demons. That's when when all that starts to manifest, and you start seeing these different entities, or everything that we talked about in the last segment. And the Sidpa bardo, the movement towards reincarnation. So in the second bardo, I'm just going to call it first, second, and third. In the second bardo, you face the hallucinatory storm, I guess is the way that I would phrase it. The visions of beauty, the visions of terror. But the ancient ascended masters were clear in this. The ones that wrote these books and left these manuals. And I'm of the mindset of throw everything away and go within, but at the same time, I would add to that and say, pick out wisdom where you find wisdom. Don't take anything for 100%. Take whatever resonates and leave the rest. Again, another recurring theme. So they're clear. These are all illusions, and they all come from within the mind itself. So recognizing the illusion. According to the Tibetan mystics, the number one cause of rebirth is fear. As I said earlier, fear is what keeps us. Fear of the visions, fear of letting go, fear of the unknown. Exactly what I was experiencing way back in the DMT realm when I was talking about this in the beginning of the show. That fear of, oh my God, I don't want to let go. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And then finally, when I did let go, that's when the true gnosis started to flood in. But it was the fear of letting go. The secret to this is non-attachment. And again, don't run towards the light. Don't flee from the darkness. Just observe, and understand. Feel it, but don't be it. Feel it out. Both the peaceful and the wrathful deities may be aspects of ourselves. The projections of our own minds, our karma. And if that's the case, that's the way these archons manipulate. They appear and then almost do kind of like, I think I saw somebody say this in the chat earlier. They kind of do kind of like a mind control kind of deal where you start manifesting things from your own consciousness. Both the peaceful and these really terrifying deities are all aspects of ourselves, of the mind's projection. So if you don't recognize the deities as your own mind's creation, if you do recognize the deities as your own mind's creation, then you're free. If you don't recognize them as that, then you're bound to it. And that's the mistake that people make. And the mistake is very real. And it leads them right back into the return, into the wheel of reincarnation. So again, going back to the white light trap, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, it makes it very clear. Don't be enticed by the white light. So we're getting more and more and more deeper into the different stages of these philosophies and finding the stuff in these philosophies that resonate. And I hope it resonates for you. It resonates for me. But, you know, the white light, it appears divine, but it seduces the soul right back into the cycle of rebirth. The goal isn't to follow any external beacon, but it's to awaken the source within. Let me say that again. The goal is not to follow the external beacon. It's to awaken the source within. What I would dub as the raw consciousness, operating from that level, the raw consciousness level, and realizing that every one of these lives, everything, especially this last life, was all just one big illusion. So this is a big departure from the New Age ideas. The Tibetans are saying that the beautiful light, that might be the trap itself. So training for death while living. In the Buddhist tradition, the monks, they prepare for death through meditation, visualization, and lucid dreaming. I would take it a step further and add shamanism to that as well. But lucid dreaming is something that has been really big in my life recently. And I've had really, really, really interesting, vivid dreams. Like some that are like, they don't make any sense, but they're just riddled with so much symbolism that when I start to examine them and pick them apart, not on the surface, but just through the symbols, they tell this really interesting story, which I won't bore you with. But I started to ask myself 4 or 5 times a day, am I dreaming? Am I dreaming? Am I dreaming? Am I dreaming? And I noticed that I started doing that in my sleep now. So I haven't quite mastered what I would call lucid dreaming, but I'm getting there. And it's something that I never really thought to practice, but that's all. It's really that simple. Just ask yourself on a daily basis, 5, 6, 7 times a day. And you just start making it a habit to ask yourself, am I dreaming? Am I dreaming? Am I dreaming? And then you'll start asking yourself that in your dreams. And then the answer will come back, wait, I am dreaming. Oh, I am dreaming. Okay, now I'm in control of the situation. So there's another way. Instead of going way deep into the ayahuasca realm or the psychedelic realm or whatever, you go into the lucid dream realm. And if you can start controlling your dreams, then you can probably start controlling the death experience too. Because death isn't something to fear. It's rehearsed for the Tibetans. So the soul doesn't cling to illusions in that moment of transition. And that's what their entire focus is in that life, is to understand the death experience through life in order to escape the wheel. If you don't master your attachments in life, they will master you in death. And that was something that just stuck out to me. And that's why I say, enjoy your life, but at the same time, focus on detaching yourself. And sometimes detaching yourself is having the experiences that you have always wanted to, but never have. And so, you know, it's like saying, well, I went to this buffet, but you know what? I didn't try the fish. And I really wanted to try the fish. It looks so good. I just didn't think about it. I'm going to go back to that buffet and I'm going to try the fish again. But if you try a little bit of everything, then you're like, okay, I've been here, done that. That's great. Move on to the next life, or move on to the next whatever. So you can start now. Observe your thoughts and let go of all the roles, the identities, the outcomes, and anchor into that stillness, which is a lesson that I've been learning really hardcore lately. Anchor into that stillness that is all around us and inside of you, and learn to live in the moment. Depression and anxiety. I heard this a while back and it really stuck. Depression is worrying about what happened in the past. Anxiety is worrying about what happens in the future. And the whole goal is to just center yourself in the moment right now. Plan for the future, of course, but don't let the future define you and don't let the past define you. But the way that I've been doing it lately is I've been thinking, where's my anchor point in the future? Who do I want to be a year from now? Which got me doing carnivore and working out and doing all that stuff like that. And saying, okay, I want to match my frequency to that. So what do I need to do in order to match my frequency to that? And I noticed that once I started doing that, boom, it was all gone. The anxiety, the depression, everything like that. I stopped worrying about what happened in the past, and I stopped worrying about what happened in the future. I've got that one anchor point, and that's it. And it's been so helpful. So taking that into the other realm, I don't need to worry about what's happening after I leave this realm. I don't need to worry about what's happening to this realm. And I don't need to worry about what I've done in the past or any unfinished business or anything like that, because it's all part of the illusionary experience, which is this life. So liberation through lucidity. The bardo is a mirror. It shows you your own subconscious symbols. Liberation comes not from doing, but from knowing. The real danger isn't in what appears. It's in believing what appears is real. Just like this life. The real danger is believing that this life is actually real. And it is real while we're experiencing it. But once we're done experiencing it, it's no longer real. It's illusionary. And that's the key to taking control. So at death, you don't meet gods. You meet yourself. And the only truly lucid soul, or rather I should say, only when you are a lucid soul will you recognize the game and choose freedom. You choose not to play the game. So I really liked, what I was reading in the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And of course, I didn't get into it 100%, but as I was going through it, I was like, wow, some of this resonates. Some of it I didn't really resonate with. I won't get into the stuff that I didn't, but those are some of the keys that stuck out. That I thought, okay, this is a lot of the same things that I found as well in my own journey. So, the Egyptian Book of the Dead. This is one of my favorites, but this one also has a lot of strangeness to it that I've often likened it to this is what the peasants were given just to occupy their time a little bit. But I think there's something we can take out of it. So the ancient Egyptians didn't just believe in life after death. They mapped it out step by step, ritual by ritual. They called it the duat, the underworld. They believed that every soul had to journey to go through to reach eternity. And you see the duat in every single burial site, which, forgive me for being redundant, but the Great Pyramid has no duat. It's got no markings. It's got nothing like that inside of it. It's definitely not a burial site. But there are pyramids there that are burial sites. And you see the duat there right above the tomb. And you see a big mural of all the accomplishments of that pharaoh and all that. And, they used to bury them with cats and to be guides and with different spices and incenses and things like that they'll need on the other side and all of that. So the weighing of the heart, central to the journey, which is the weighing of the heart ceremony. I think it's more metaphoric than anything else. But the heart represents the soul's truth. It represents the consciousness. It represents the raw consciousness. And it's weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of balance, justice, and cosmic order. So if your heart is lighter than the feather, then you're free. If your heart is heavier, then you're devoured by Amit, the soul eater that ceases to exist. And you know what? I don't know why I wrote that. I think I was just reading it and just wrote it out of there, but I've always seen it differently in my visions. So I'll give you both perspectives. That's the perspective from the book. My perspective is that the feather has to be, your soul has to be equal to the feather, not heavier, not lighter. If it's heavier, then you float off. If it's lighter, you get devoured by Amit. Either way, you go right back into reincarnation. But anyway, so here's the deeper question, is who's weighing it and by whose standard is it judged? So the gods of the afterlife, the archetypes of gatekeepers. Anubis, of course, is the guide, the guardian of the dead. Thoth, the scribe, the recorder of outcome. Osiris, lord of the afterlife, and he sits in judgment. But what if these gods aren't literal beings, but symbolic of different functions of the soul, which is something that I've explored so many times before? Or worse, what if their images were later hijacked by controlling forces? Boom! The Archons hijacking all these images. And that's why, like, when I saw Isis, she appeared as like a pink beam of light, completely different than what I would expect. When I saw Enki, appeared as something completely different than what I would expect. There was no familiar faces here. But instead, it was energy and pure energy. But for all the Egyptians out there that were reading this book, what if they actually do see these beings, and these beings are just archons? They're the images that they're used to seeing, just like the Jesus figure and just like all of that. What if it's all one and the same? Just a bunch of archons projecting images. So some esoteric traditions suggest that the duat became ritualized spiritual control, locking the soul into a belief system that requires outside validation. So again, what I was saying earlier is it was hijacked at one point in time. Everything's been hijacked. There was some truth to it. As I said before, the deities always represented to me consciousness. Different parts of consciousness. You have your Osiris, which is the masculine. You have the Isis, which is the feminine. And then you have different aspects of those. Sekhmet, Bastet, all of that. And then you have the different Thoth and all the different entities on the masculine side. And it's all just consciousness. It's all the different degrees of consciousness. But it was hijacked at one point in time. And I think this hijacking took place when they merged Upper and Lower Egypt. There's a whole history there that, I can get into, but I won't. So we have to ask ourselves, do we want to be judged? I mean, even if you're like hardcore Egyptian like I am, I don't want Osiris judging me. I think what happens is we judge ourselves. But it's because we still believe that what we're experiencing is real. And maybe we can break out of that entire need to judge ourselves by realizing there's no reason to judge myself. It was all just an illusion. It was all an illusion. I'm just going to step back, and I'm not doing this again. I remember doing this before, and I'm not doing it again. So the role of Set and Apep, the chaos as initiation. Set was originally a god of chaos, storms, boundaries, the desert. He wasn't inherently evil, but he kind of played that darker side of the coin. And Apep, or Apophis, who's coming back in 2029, coincidentally. Why the hell would you name an asteroid Apophis unless it was a harbinger of death? Is the serpent of cosmic disorder, the force that the sun god Ra battled every night. So in the deeper mysteries, chaos was not the enemy. Chaos was the test. The crucible through which clarity is born. So we take the chaos, we create order out of it. You get order out of chaos. And I've seen that phrase over and over again. It's a very ancient phrase, and they say the Illuminati adopted it and all this, but they say they create chaos in order to bring order, but I don't think that's the case. I think it's the alchemical process of creating order out of chaos. So in the death state, where are we? We're in a state of chaos, where so many things are happening and we're completely out of control, and we're being pulled in every single different direction with all these different emotions and whatnot. But at the core of it, if we create order within ourselves out of that, then we see beyond the illusion. So Set later became demonized, but may represent the force that challenges illusions, the breaker of false structures. And Set echoes Satan in the Christian I don't know why I can't think of the word. The Christian philosophy, the Christian belief system, whatever. I was trying to think of a more eloquent word than that. But who was Satan? Satan was Hasatan, the accuser, the disruptor, the prosecutor, the one who called out the bullshit, the one who said, hey, this isn't right. And then became demonized as the oppressor, as the dark force out there. But if you really think about it from a perspective of enslavement, it was the one that called out the prison for what it is. The one that called out the bars and said, hey, those are bars. Break free of those bars. So at some point, we have that spirit of rebellion that's much like Set, much like a Hasatan or something like that, and we break out of this prison that is this consciousness trap that we find ourselves in. So we create that chaos, and then through that chaos, then we create the order, which is inside of us, the raw consciousness, the source inside of us. So the cycle of the sun, rebirth of reincarnation, the journey of Ra through the duat was cyclical. Every day he dies. Every morning he's reborn, just like souls are. Just like souls are going through the wheel of reincarnation. We go through the light of life, then we go through the darkness of death, back to the light of light, back through the darkness of death, over and over and over and over again. So it sounds inspiring, but it's also familiar. It mirrors the reincarnation trap. Eternal repetition disguised as sacred renewal. And that was all well and good up until this point. But at this point, no more. You know, could the duat be another soul loop, another soul trap, where the soul is judged, purified, and then sent back, never to realize that it existed? Never to realize that it existed in sovereignty, that it always had the ability to exit. So let's decode the real message here for a second. The Egyptian Book of the Dead was actually called the Book of Coming Forth by Day. The Book of Coming Forth by Day. If day and light is life and death is the night, the Book of Coming Forth by Day, a guide to reawaken, not submission. So the real teaching may not be that about being judged. It may be that it's about recognizing that the heart, that the raw consciousness is already divine. That the essence never needed external approval. It never needed judges. It never needed to have the heart weighed. It never needed any of that. But in fact, all it needed was just to see through the illusion to break free. Modern spiritual traps often wear ancient masks. But wisdom, when stripped of dogma, always points inward. Because we're not here to be tested. We're here to remember. We're here to remember that we were never less than the gods. We were never less than the guides. We were never less than any of these Archons who are pulling all this bullshit deception on the other side, that we're actually above them. And we're the ones who are sovereign. We're the ones who call the shots, not the other way around. And so, of course, let me take it over real quick to heaven and hell, the Abraham hijack. And for centuries, we've been taught that when we die, we go to heaven or hell. I feel like this is just like the surface level material here, but it's worth going over. Eternal reward or eternal punishment, but what if that isn't duality? What if it's the biggest spiritual hijack in history? And it's one of the most important ones to recognize here in this modern age, because this is the one that's most prevalent. You know, I feel like maybe we should have started this one and worked our way down, but this is the one that everybody falls into. Judaism, Christianity, Islam, the teaching of two paths after death. You go to heaven or do you go to hell? That's it. Heaven or hell, heaven or hell. That instills deep moral control rooted in fear of judgment. So heaven and hell, it's not just a place, but they're psychological weapons. And it's weapons that are being used even now in real life, in day-to-day life. It's the reward and the punishment. It's the carrot and the stick. It's the carrot dangling, like, oh, if you're just really good here, you'll be able to go to heaven later. If you're not, you're going to go to hell. So these belief systems, they override intuition. They override all of that. And they've made people do horrible things. And they think that they're doing good things. And they say, well, if you do these horrible things, I mean, look at Islam. If you do these horrible things and go suicide bomb this building over here, then you're going to get 72 virgins on the other side and all this nonsense. And the Christians too. You know, they've engaged in some horrible things. And they say, oh, well, I'm doing it in the name of Jesus. And so it's for the greater good. No, it's not. Evil is evil. Good is good. It's simple as that. Just because you frame it in a different way, it doesn't change it. But good people are manipulated to do bad things through these religious traps. And so good people are manipulated into experiencing these horrible feelings afterwards and being sucked back into this wheel of reincarnation. Because the guilt replaces the discernment. Or the heaven replaces the discernment. The bliss, I'll go back to that a million times over. Ignorance is bliss, but bliss is ignorance. And what's the biggest sin in Christianity? What was the first sin? The first sin out there. The sin of knowledge. The sin of knowledge was the first sin. Eating from the tree of knowledge. Think about this. Eating from the tree of the knowledge, and people would say, no, you're being incomplete there. It's eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Well, yeah, of course. I need to know what evil is, and I need to know what good is. Because if I don't know what evil is, then I don't know when somebody is doing evil to me. Why is that a sin? So the God of eternal punishment for finite crimes. It's not justice, it's tyranny in divine robes. That's all it is. So why would a truly loving creator damn you to burn forever for thinking the wrong way or questioning authority? If the Abrahamic God is real, that's funny. If it's real, then I think he would be very happy to see one of his children, we're just going with the Christian philosophy, to see one of his children standing up and becoming a God himself and saying, oh, I'm glad you're questioning things. Good on you. Anything less than that is not divine. It's the opposite. It's evil. So what kind of God needs constant worship under threat of pain? That's the one thing that got me, is the idea of heaven is where you go and worship God forever and just praise God forever. Read the book. That doesn't sound like heaven. That sounds like hell to me. So would a loving creator damn you and burn forever for coming up with these thoughts and discerning all of this? Many souls who've had near-death experience have reported seeing such figures, but they felt fear or they felt love. And a lot of people have said, oh, I saw God and it was horrible, or it was so intense, or it was all this. And it's like, why? If you're going to see your parents, do you just shake in awe when you see your parents? If you are of them, if we are of God, well, then we are gods ourselves. And if we're gods ourselves, then we should be able to stand next to the divine as divine. There's something wrong when we're told that that's not the case. So we have to ask ourselves, are these beings gods? Or are they playing gods to keep us in line? Are they telling us, no, you're small. You don't know anything. You have no idea what God can be thinking. So don't even question it. So heaven as illusion is, if hell is a fear-based deterrent, heaven is the bait, the false sense of safety, reunion, bliss. But both paths require one thing: submission to an eternal judge. And we find that repeated over and over and over again. Like, you see, we went over the Book of the Dead, the Egyptian, and that sounded pretty good. And even the Tibetan stuff sounded pretty good until you get to that point of judgment again. And you're like, wait a second. This is all seems to be leading the same way. It's like different paths to make you think that you're free, to make you think that you're going in the right direction, but they all wind up in the exact same freaking place. Heaven becomes a trap when it's offered as a prize for obedience. Not a natural state of consciousness, but a programmed outcome. A programmed outcome. And it's easy to make to mistake comfort. It's easy to mistake comfort for freedom. But ignorance is bliss and bliss is ignorance. Many souls gravitate towards the light thinking that they're going home, but whose home are they going to? I don't think anybody stopped to ask that. Whose home I'm going home, but whose home am I going to? Am I going to my home? Or am I going to some kind of programmed home? Something that's programmed in guilt, shame, repentance, confession. All these software patches for controlling behavior. And instead of discovering your divine self, you're told to seek forgiveness from outside yourself. And this is the biggest thing about the religions, is they say, don't worry about anything. Jesus has all your sins right here. He's going to carry all your sins for you. Well, wait a minute. How about some self-accountability? How about instead of saying Jesus is going to take all this, how about you just atone for yourself and then move on with your life after that? You know? Or how about just taking it a step behind that, one step backwards, and just saying, how about we just don't create negative karma to begin with? Sometimes shit happens, and I totally get it. Intent is big, in my opinion. If you hurt somebody on accident, that's completely different than doing it on purpose. Either way, you have to atone for it. But how about we just don't create negative karma on purpose? Because there's enough accidental negative karma that we create on our own. And then afterwards we can leave and go, hey, everything's good. Everything's balanced. Sin is separation, but not from God. Sin is separation from yourself. These systems, they didn't save your soul. They're meant to harvest them. And they do. They're even very clear about it. In the end days, God is going to come down and Jesus is going to harvest the souls. Harvest the souls. Well, what happens to the wheat? It gets separated. The wheat gets eaten and the rest gets thrown away. I don't want to be eaten. So the system wasn't designed for freedom. It was built to domesticate the divine spark inside each and every one of us. Let me repeat that. The system was designed to domesticate the divine spark in each and every one of us. Everything is keep us away from the divine spark. Keep us away from the divine spark. So breaking the heaven and hell polarity, the polarity of reward punishment must be transcended. True ascension doesn't require someone else's approval. It requires remembrance of what you've always been. Going right back to that idea of remember who you are. And we're told that devils tempt with desire. But the real trap is heaven, where the souls lay down. They lay down their sovereignty. They give up their freedom. And they do it all for the illusion of peace. I'm not playing these games. I'm done. Forget about it. So the way out is we don't accept judgment. We don't fear punishment. We don't seek approval. We recognize the programming and deconstruct these myths. Deconstruct these myths from inside out. And when we deconstruct it all, it comes right back to the individual, comes right back to the raw consciousness, it comes right back to the source inside of you. And then you realize it's all just an illusion anyways. It's time to go home. Get the hell out of here. So we're not here to earn heaven. We're here to reclaim what was within the raw consciousness, the source within us, the divinity within us. And if you go back and you read the Gnostics, they all say, go within. This isn't something new. It's something that I discovered on my own, through my own journeys, but it was cool to be able to confirm all of this later. But I'm sure everybody feels that. I think I mentioned this on the last show, but I left a comment in some Christian thing on social media, and I got bombarded with like 300 or 400 different comments after that. And it was something about how the Bible's bullshit and all this, and there were so many people going, well, how do you know what's good and what's bad if you don't have the Bible? I'm like, dude, you don't know? It's not inside of you? What's wrong with you? It seems to be a recurring theme. A friend of mine called me the other day, a different friend, and he's like, dude, you know, I'm having these issues and this and that and blah, 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 blah. And he said it independently, and I was like, oh, cool, synchronicity. So when you die, you don't look for gates. You don't kneel to thrones. You don't kneel to anything. You don't fear the flames. Just remember that you are the source. You are the light. You are the law. You are the raw fucking consciousness. So we have 2 more sections that I wrote down here. Soul contracts and karma. I might take one more quick break before... Yeah, I'll take one more quick break, just to break it up a minute. Oh man, I haven't felt a spark like this in a long time, and I'm fucking loving this. I feel it. I told the universe, I said, you better fucking do something right now. You got 28 fucking days, 6 hours, 42 minutes, and 12 seconds to get some shit done. And it did not fail. I'll be right back.
Hear the whisper on the wind, a crack in the sky, a fading hymn. We stand on the edge of a broken dawn. The hourglass spills, but the sand is gone. And we wait for the last breath of the sun, chasing the shadows of all we become. Underneath the sky, falling apart, we're all holding pieces of a broken heart. Can you feel it? Can you taste it? The end is all we've ever known. So we wait for the last breath of the sun. Flicker, flicker, little flame, shining brighter, but you're the same. Will you burn out or light the night? Will you lead us to the end or bring us light? The ruins are cold, but they tell no lies. We've lived through the storm and watched the skies die. Now all we have is dust and air, a final prayer, if we still dare. And we wait for the last breath of the sun, chasing the shadows of all we become. Underneath the one. Flicker, flicker, little flame, shining brighter, but you're the same. Will you burn out or light the night? Will you lead us to the end or bring us light? The ruins are cold, but they tell no lies. We've lived through the storm and watched the skies die. Now all we have is dust and air, a final prayer, if we still dare. Ruins are cold, but they tell no lies. We've lived through the storm and watched the skies die. Now all we have is dust and air, a final prayer, if we still dare.
All right. So I'm going to go through these last two sections real quick because we're already past 2 hours. And soul contracts. Soul contracts. Popular belief says that we agree that we are pre-birth, that everything that we experience in life, the abuse, we chose that. Trauma, yeah, we came here to learn that. Oppression, it's chosen because karmic balance. Like, I chose all this crap that I'm experiencing right now because that was part of my soul contract. Maybe that's true. I don't want to knock anybody that says that's the case, but I'm wondering, is that part of the illusion too? Is that part of just making us okay with being in this prison that we're in right now? It sounds empowering until you realize that it's also just perfect justification for suffering and the ultimate gaslighting. Like, yeah, you chose to experience whatever it is that you're experiencing. I mean, some people experience some horrible shit. I've experienced some horrible shit. I know that my suffering is nowhere close to other people's suffering. But we all chose this to come in here. That sounds like a system that was designed to keep us in a state of suffering that feeds upon that state of suffering and then makes us okay with it. Almost like it's some sick cosmic joke. So the belief system can silence those in pain. You chose it. Don't complain. Oh, this is just karma. We're just experiencing karma. It refrains the oppression as spiritual agreement, not something to overcome, not something to change, but something that's just like, yeah, I agree to this, so it's all good. It's all good. Some people, I don't know, they're born without legs, they're born without eyes, they're born without all this, and they're like, you know, well, you agree to that. Yeah, I'm agreeing to coming here without eyes and without legs and without all this. No, it doesn't make sense. But we can change it. We can change it. And we can always change the movie. We can always change the movie. Sometimes we can change it here. Sometimes we change it there. And there meaning on the other side. And sometimes we can just say, I'm not watching this freaking movie. I've seen it before. It's no fun. It's no longer fun anymore. This whole 1,000 life Netflix series I've been watching, which is My Existence. Yeah, no, I'm good with that. I'm gonna go watch something else now. So consent under deception, it's not real consent. If you're being tricked, you're not actually consenting. You're being fooled into consenting. You didn't know the full truth. So what were you agreeing to? So if life is guided into a life contract by beings presenting themselves to be guides, how valid is that agreement to begin with? I remember there was a time when I was getting into like legal, like not legalese, like I'm really big into law, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like standard law. I'm talking about like back in like the sovereign citizen kind of days when we were like talking about all that. And I used to sign everything under threat and duress, under threat and duress. It didn't do a damn thing, but under threat and duress. But all these contracts are done under threat and duress. If they are contracts. So how valid is that if you're signing a contract when you're coerced to doing so? So if a soul's guided into a life contract by beings pretending to be guides, it's not really valid, is it? So many regress. They do hypnosis. They do stuff like that. And they show that souls are actually being pushed. Dolores Cannon did a lot of work on this. They're being pushed. They're being guilt-tripped. They're being tricked into reincarnating. And it's time to break that loop. So if you agree to a contract while you're in a state of confusion, trauma, or psychic manipulation, was that really a sacred contract? Was that even a binding contract? Or was that spiritual fraud? This whole system has been perpetrating spiritual fraud on us from the very beginning. And we're just now realizing, crap, this whole thing, we've been duped. We've been duped, but it's okay. Because regardless of whether we've been duped or not, we still have the power. That's the one thing they can never take from us. And you even see that echoed here in this life here. You hear about the Illuminati doing all these plans, and they have to tell you what their plans are. Because you have to consent. You have to consent. And it's almost like a sick game to them where, you know, they like it when people consent. I'm like, okay, well, they deserve what they get. But I think that works as above, so below in the other realm too. People consent. So karma as a cosmic debt enslavement. Karma is cosmic debt enslavement. You have debt as above, so below. Karma is sold as a fair system of accountability. But it also functions as self-policing mechanism. We police ourselves through this karma. And if we're taught that suffering is our fault from a past life, then we never bother to question the system itself. We just accept the pain, and that's it. And we suffer, and these archons feed upon that suffering. So true karma is natural consequence. But what we're taught is not true karma. True karma is, I do something, and then I get the consequence of doing that, and then I can choose to reconcile it or whatever, what's the term, atone for it or whatever. But that's not what we're taught. That's not what's pushed on us. So it's I'm talking about something completely different. It's weaponized karma. It's punishment without memory, lessons without context. And the damn memory wipe, that's what it does. Lessons over and over and over again without context. So if this is a realm where we're supposed to ascend to next levels, then the memory wipe is what makes it weaponized karma. And it becomes less and less about growth and more about control. It becomes about energetic debt and paying off your energetic debt. And like I said before, how do we know that this life review is actually a life review and it's not just a bunch of projections just being projected upon our consciousness to make us move in one direction or another? You know, we even do this with memories now. We romanticize certain things. Like I'm sure a lot of you out there, you romanticize the 90s. I remember romanticizing my 20s. But when I really think about it, my 20s were not that good. I mean, they were good because I was 20. But the 90s kind of sucked. But we romanticize all that. It's just like our parents did. They used to romanticize the 50s. But the 50s were just as bad. Every time was bad. But in our minds, we always romanticize them. So it's less about growth and it's more about control. It's more about control. So the illusion of willing participation. Many souls believe that they've chosen to return only to discover through meditation, plant medicine, or NDEs. I should start using the term plant medicine instead of DMT and dimethyltryptamine and stuff like that, because the AI censors don't like that word. But plant medicine, I think, is okay. People are realizing that they've been coerced. A system built on consent can only function if the consent is unconscious. That's why they need the amnesia. That's why they need the memory wipes. That's why they need the light. That's why they need the illusion of love. Sovereignty means informed choice, not spiritual obedience. Informed choice. And that's been my biggest gripe with religion. If God is all powerful and all knowing and all this, then why doesn't he just present himself? And that way there's no question about it. Consent. An informed choice. But when you take away that consent, you take away that informed choice, what do you get? Manipulation. So breaking the contract. We can revoke these contracts anytime we want. We can clear the karmic debt, not through penance, but through remembering who you are. So say it, mean it, and declare it energetically. Right now, I revoke all contracts not made in full conscious sovereignty. I revoke all contracts not made in full conscious sovereignty. I release all karma not aligned with divine truth. I choose freedom now. I'll say that one more time. I revoke all contracts not made in full conscious sovereignty. I release all karma not aligned with divine truth. I choose freedom now. And just to give it that third one, I revoke all contracts not made in full conscious sovereignty. I release all karma not aligned with divine truth. I choose freedom now. Rituals, intention setting, shadow work, soul retrieval, all of that supports all of this. So the more you reclaim your story, the less they can write it for you. And I've said this the same about mind too, about your mind, M-I-N-D. Mind control is very real in this realm. If you don't control your mind, somebody else will control it, just by design of the system. If you don't control your sovereignty, if you don't control your consciousness after the death experience, something else will control it. So the more that you control for yourself, the less that they're able to control, and it goes all up and down the line. The more you reclaim your story, the less they can write it for you. So the new paradigm of choice, real growth doesn't come through suffering, it comes through awareness. True soul work. What am I trying to say here? The true inner work, the true soul work, it honors the free will. It honors the raw consciousness. It's the conscious healing and the evolution through love, not the evolution through trauma, not the evolution through suffering. It's the evolution through love. As I was saying at the beginning of the show, we learn to love and we ascend. It's not through the suffering, it's through the love. So the old contract is over. We didn't come here to be tested. We came here to remember. And I think that's the most important part of this final life here, is remembering. So how to escape the soul trap. This is the end of the segments that I have here. And I might get into the AI stuff here in a second, but maybe, I don't know. We'll see. So if reincarnation is a trap, if the light is the bait, if the soul contracts are coercion, then how do we get out? The answer, it's not found in these books. It's not found in these rituals. It's not found in any of that. It's found inside of you. It's found inside of your remembrance. And it's found inside of your raw consciousness. The awareness of the illusion, the awareness of these traps, the awareness of what happens after. Because when you lose your awareness, that's when you're sucked into the machine. When you hold on to your awareness, oh my God, everything is coming full circle. When you hold on to your awareness, then you can take control and you can navigate the experience, just like I was talking about 20 years ago about DMT. The goal is to hold on to your sense of self and navigate through the experience, not being sucked away or blown like a feather in the wind. Damn. I'm fucking feeling it tonight. So we got to let go of the programming. We got to let go of the karma. We got to let go of the judgment. We got to let go of the divine punishment, and we have to earn the remembrance by doing the work inside of us. And we have to let go of this bullshit earned salvation, because it's not about earning salvation. It's about earning the remembrance. And that's tearing down all the walls. And that's one of the most difficult things, is to tear down the walls inside of you, to tear down all these constructs, to tear down all these belief systems and remember. So we don't escape the matrix by fighting it. This goes back to what I was saying in the last show about the signal, which is another project I'm working on. It's not about coming here to escape the matrix by fighting it. It's about transcending it by seeing through it and seeing within. The trap functions through belief in it. Everything functions through the belief. The moment you stop giving it authority is the moment that the power collapses. So, at the very end, my one and only focus is to die consciously. At the moment of death, to be lucid. Not to follow anything automatically. To remember who I am on a soul level. Not the light, not the voices, not the guides, but my own light. Spark that light up from inside. I don't care if I'm in the darkness, I'm going to find my way. I find the organic light that's inside of me, not the synthetic light. The organic light that's inside of me. Anchoring to the stillness being the stillness of consciousness. Not worrying about what happened in the past, not worrying about what's happening in the future, worrying about what's happening in the now. And reclaiming that sovereignty. And if something appears and it asks, what have you done? My answer to it, by whose authority are you here? Because it's not mine. So therefore, I don't want nothing to do with it. And the most powerful message, I choose my own path from here on out. No more soothsayers and psychics and guides and Palladians and angels and demons and all that. I make my own way. And that's where you find the exit. The exit through self. Not through any external path. But you reclaim your light. Because the system wants that light. That system wants that light. That system is fueled by that light that's inside. That's its prize. That's what it's really fighting for. It's fighting to take that light from you. Because the real source is inside of you. It's not in any realm. It's not in any being. It's not in any belief system. So turn inwards. Visualize the soul. Visualize it as a flame that can't be extinguished. It grows. Let it guide. That is your compass. The true ascension, it's not vertical. It's not up. It's not into another dimension. It's internal. Let me say it one more time. The true ascension is not vertical. It's internal. To get out, you got to go in. So set the intention now. So here's what you can do. Start the work while you're alive, while you're aware, right now. Meditate daily. Just take 2 minutes. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. 5 minutes, 2 minutes. Well, it doesn't matter. I meditate every night before I go to sleep. I fall asleep meditating. I fall asleep practicing lucid dreaming. And every day, am I awake? Am I asleep? Is this a dream? Is this a dream? Oh, no, it's not a dream. Okay. Oh, is this a dream? Yeah, it's a dream. Consciously examine your beliefs. And it's difficult sometimes because we get so tied into some of these belief systems. And even if it's stuff that, stuff I talked about 10 years ago, sometimes I still find myself still trapped in that same mindset. And it's like, no, I had to burn everything down for a reason. So I can rebuild the next chapter, the final chapter, the coda, the BTV coda, the last chapter, the best chapter. And everything had to just come down. So it did so for a reason. To declare that sovereignty over the energy field. And declare your sovereignty over your energy field. So say it clearly. Say it clearly. This is one of my mantras here. I choose liberation beyond life. I do not consent to false light, false contracts, or false returns. I choose liberation beyond this life. I do not consent to false light, false contracts, or forced returns. I choose liberation beyond this life. I do not consent to false lights, false contracts, or forced returns. These declarations aren't just superstition. That's programming the fucking matrix. It's using your words to send out a code that says, I am not consenting to any of this bullshit anymore. They're quantum commands. They imprint inside of your energy field. And it's those codes that break free. And that's when you step beyond the veil. So clear out all that astral residue, however you want. Plant medicine, if you're called to, that is my path. Work with energy healers that you know, that you trust, people that can help, people that you vibe with, breath work, sound, light fasting, and work on the spiritual overlays any way you can, and detach from all of those. Because the cleaner your frequency, the less tethered you are to the game. So remember the ultimate truth. Remember this. This is so important. You were never broken. You were never meant to be judged. You were never meant to be ruled. You are a fucking sovereign, raw fucking consciousness. You're not a student here to learn through pain. You're not a fragment of source. You're not temporarily lost in a simulation. Now you're waking up. You're raw fucking consciousness. And you forgot. And at the very core of that, is where you find the fucking way out. So we're not here to ascend. Again, we're here to remember. We're here to remember that we never fell. We just forgot. So, here's a declaration. Here's an affirmation. I am the light. I am the source. I am the sovereign. I reject all false guides, all forced contracts, all astral manipulations. I walk in truth. I choose freedom. I exit the trap forever. Because at the end of the day, you don't need saving. You don't need redemption. All you need to do is just wake up and remember. The trap ends the moment that you say, I choose my raw fucking consciousness. Oh, fuck. All right. I'm going to have to take a quick break after that. I choose my raw fucking consciousness.
The air hums low, a weightless thread, a whispering tether to what lies ahead. Eyes closed, yet the world unravels, a path untrodden where silence travels. The walls dissolve, no lines, no seams, a tapestry woven from waking dreams. The hum grows louder, it bends, it breaks. Reality falters, then dissipates. Tearing through the veil of sound, a sacred spiral pulls me down. Strings of light and shattered keys, the symphony of infinity. Time folds backward, its breath runs cold. A secret story begins to unfold. The hum fades low, but I still remain awake in a void I cannot name.
All right. Whoa. We are 2.5 hours into it. Wow. Time just bends and twists. Reality falters and dissipates. So if you've made it this far, I appreciate you joining me tonight very much. We've walked through ancient scriptures, we've walked through soul traps, we've walked through astral manipulation and layers of illusion that have kept humanity spinning in these wheels of cyclical bullshit lifetimes. It's time to break free. Because the light at the end of the tunnel, it's not the goal, it's the question. And you're not here to follow it. You're here to question everything. You're here to remember, to reclaim your path, and to choose freedom. So, if you want to say it with me now, out loud, with your raw fucking consciousness, I am the source. I am sovereign. I am free. I reject the false light. I reclaim sovereignty. I do not consent. I do not return. I am the light beyond the motherfucking veil. So, on the next show, I've got some notes here. The next one is going to be called AI, the Return of the Architect. I'm not going to spoil what AI stands for. It's not artificial. It's not artificial. So, yeah, I'm so tempted to go into this. I'm not going to, though. Y'all are going to have to like, comment, and subscribe. You're going to have to hit that subscribe button in order to get the next one, because the next one is just banging. So kiss the one you love right now. You never know the last time it's going to be. Thank you very much for hanging out. Thank you for helping me find my spark again. Thank you for helping me reignite all this and take it to the next level as we move into the coda, the final chapter, as we step even further beyond the veil. Love you.